modem went off and yada
It
yada yada.
happened.
So for those of you who are just if you're just coming into this one, go watch the other live stream that just shut
Yes.
off,
Forget the
and
first
then
15 minutes.
and then come into this one and you'll be caught up. All right. Otherwise, it's going to sound really weird. But we just randomly were talking about
Star Trek.
Star Trek, and and of course, like always, I tangent into they did have the token black characters, and they it was Geordi for the next generation, and
Yes.
anyway, so we're back to that wasn't really the point of bringing up Star Trek, by the way. It was so let's go back to my like.
Well, you were talking about graphene. That was
Thank you. I was talking about graphene, and I went into like I'm a futurist. To me, graphene is like the futurist's favorite new technology, right?
Mm,
Because okay, so to explain it, graphene, you know what graphite is, right? Most people know what
yes.
graphite is. Graphite is what you have in your pencils. We call it lead, even though it's not lead. It's graphite because back in the day it was lead. But it's graphite. Well, graphene is essentially a one atom thick sheet of like two-dimensional molecules. I mean atoms. Sorry. It's graphite. Only it's one atom thick, and it's usually
Okay.
it's spread out into a thin sheet that's like basically a millionth the size of um, thickness of your hair, um,
Okay.
and and it's in a honeycomb pattern, a hexagonal pattern, which is
Okay.
important too for the strength and the bonding of the graphene. You have these three molecules that bond together, and they or each molecule is bonded by two others. I think it is, or by three. So it helps make it very strong. Graphene itself was actually discovered is a better way. I can't say it was invented. I mean, I'm because my thought is it was already there. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
you
Right.
can't invent, but it was discovered how to, I mean, in a sense, and how to get it. And the way they did it was really low tech. They just took a piece, like a tape, and they took it on these two scientists in 2004, and they put it on graphite, and they peeled the tape off, and then they kept doing that process until it was like super super thin. That sounds simple,
Okay.
but that's something you could do with like a little tiny bit of graphene, and that doesn't really have a lot of usages until you discover what it is. So graphene
Okay.
essentially,
Okay.
when it's in this sheet, is supposed to be 100 times stronger than steel.
Oh,
It's incredibly light.
wow.
Yes, yes. It's incredibly light. And again, this is one sheet of graphene. So I mean, the idea is you layer the sheets on top of each other. You can't because it's see through, and then you have tons of
Okay.
usages of graphene that can come into place. So it's also it's the best conductor on the planet that we know of electricity, unless something's happened since then that I'm not aware of. But my understanding is
Really?
it's an incredible conductor of electricity. So the applications of graphene are kind of immense, and like it immediately leans towards, oh, this is a space age material. Literally, this is going to bring us to another level of space travel once we learn how to utilize it, which it will, if we can, um, and and so like the things you can do with graphene is you can make batteries out of graphene that hold their charge better, and you can combine graphene with existing
Okay.
technology like lithium ion and gas and stuff like that, but then you can also use it for touch screen TVs and touch screen computers, solar cells, water filtration, because it's so thin, the water can pass through and even air can pass through this thing to some extent, but it can also filter a lot as well, depending on how you layer it and all that, from my understanding. Energy
Okay.
generation, so in super, like as a supercapacitor. So when we talk about supercapacitors, you're talking about like that time when if you have a Prius, if you understand how a Prius works, you press on the brake, and as you're pressing on the brake, it's charging the battery up. Well, imagine like, and I don't know if this, I'm not sure if this is a complete exaggeration. It may be like one or two, but anybody's at a Prius knows that like the battery takes some time to charge up as you're doing it. If you're going downhill, it's charging, blah, blah, blah. But because I've had a Prius in the past. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so, but what we're talking about is imagine completely fully charging your vehicle to all electric with like a couple of taps on your brake. And it's like,
Mm.
so the idea is it charges super, super fast. It also has potential to be replacing microchip technology and I mean DNA sequencing.
So
The,
is it? This is something that is um, recently people have become aware of it, or is it that it's begun to be used more recently?
That's a really good way to ask that, actually. So, and it's two questions, so I'm going to try to answer both. So, recently, I think more and more people are becoming aware of it, as always, right? So, the two scientists, and I don't remember their names off the top of my head. They came out of the University of Manchester in London, and
Okay.
they're the ones who discovered this. So in 2004, they were both co-awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not that this isn't known amongst the people, but like, again, who won the 2005 for physics? Does anybody
Right,
know? You know what
right.
I mean?
Nobody
So
knows.
so you
I
put
mean, science people know, but
science people know this, and it's something that honestly I wish that we all and myself we paid more attention to, and I'd like to start paying more attention to that as well. To go, well, why are these
Hmm.
people winning these awards? So that's a good idea to maybe we go back and have conversations about that sometime. Um, but anyway, like it came out like out of the guns, both barrels blazing. People going, "This is what we can do with it, and we can create a space elevator," which is a concept that a lot of people have said is what's really going to get us to like really getting to like up in our game on space travel. So space elevator,
Space elevator.
yeah, yeah. So this is a thing. A lot of science fiction people are all into the space elevator side of things. So space elevator is essentially like going into space from Earth requires a tremendous amount of propulsion. Okay. And
Yes.
so most of the energy that is spent, to my understanding of space travel, is getting us out of our friggin' atmosphere because of all the gravity and all the materials and everything. Now imagine for a moment that there's literally an elevator made of super material like graphene. And everyone
That you
who's
step
watching,
into it and it sends you to space.
and you will go up to space. Now, this elevator obviously is fixated in space in orbit. So there's logistics that have to go along with this, but it's not a far fetched concept. So instead of flying to space, think of how much easier and safer it would be if you could just get on an elevator. Now, let's be honest, this elevator is going to take hours to get up. And it's not an elevator like you think of. It's an elevator on a cable. I ain't taking this elevator. I'm not saying I'm taking this
I'm
elevator.
not.
I'm not taking this elevator either.
Perhaps one day children or grandchildren
But let
might.
me tell
I
you
won't.
something. Would you rather take that elevator or get on a rocket?
Neither.
But
I'm
it
just being honest. I
Oh,
have
no, no, no,
no
no, no.
desire
No,
to go
no.
to space.
I get it.
So you're trying to make me make a choice. If I had to pick one of the two, I would get in the rocket.
You'd get on the rocket. Okay, because
Why
rocket. I mean that
not?
you're getting on an explosive device and it's under your ass. I don't know. I'm not feeling that. Maybe the idea is if I'm gonna die from the rocket exploding, it's faster than if the
I
elevator.
need to know. I need the elevator to be,
I'm sure the
tested
elevator.
for quite some time. Do you know how they put the signs in elevators that says it's been inspected? I need to know that that has
Yeah,
happened.
it better be
And
Inspector number 420 or just have to be funny. And it's Inspector
no, I
number.
don't know if I want to be Inspector 420. I don't know.
No, look. Here's the thing. I mean, it's not like they're not gonna have like some kind of like a parachute or something. If I can think of that, I know smarter people than me are thinking that. Anyway, I mean, I don't want to get too far in a tangent, but these are the applications that you could look at out of a substance like graphene. Okay.
Hmm.
Now,
Okay.
so these are all potential. Now, to answer your second question, because the first one was like, is it some people are aware of? And people are
Mhm.
obviously you're more aware of it now. Hopefully, people who watch this will become more aware of it and look it up and learn some things for
Yes.
themselves about graphene. Um, and so the next question is, what are the applications? And again, you got to think 2004, these guys like discovered it, right? And they were able to break this thing down. So now we're looking at 16 years, where it's kind of like when we first discovered gold. How long did it take us to figure out what the hell to do with it? I
Mm.
mean, now, and again, we have scientists and everything's accelerated, blah blah blah. But it still takes time. We may go like, "Wow, this is really cool," but the in the course of business and manufacturing, these guys aren't going to make a choice to do something unless they know it makes sense and is cost effective, and that's where hemp comes in or can come in.
Mm.
Hey, I was getting to the point, guys. Everybody. So graphene is great, but it is a cost prohibitive process. to make. Now, there's breakthroughs on that. There's a chemical way to do it. We're utilizing gases, but that has environmental implications. So a lot of people are like, yeah, does our space age substance have to create more toxicity? And so then there's other ways to create it, right? There are other ways to do it, but it is an expensive process. So you have this. So imagine you're somebody who makes microchips with silicon, which is very stable. You know what you're dealing with at all times. To jump in and go to graphene when it hasn't been proven, it's theorized that it's far superior, but it's very expensive to make. It's hard. You don't know exactly how it's going to operate yet. So what happens? Like these guys aren't going to shift to that. There may be an R&D place, but they actually expect most of the R&D to be done on the college side. And so you have, for example, in the University of Alberta, they have worked on developing graphene, like a graphene substance from hemp. And there's other ways to do it. High carbon trash is a great way to turn into graphene. And there's ways that people are looking at doing that where they can burn up trash and do that. And that's fantastic too. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. We should absolutely find ways to get rid of trash. So like things like tires and stuff like that and other plastics. That's a great, they have to burn it a certain way and they can potentially make graphene. But with hemp, it's part of the bast fiber that they utilize and they have to superheat it up in this process to do it. But that hemp is able to be grown and produces a material at a fraction of the cost of a lot of these other solutions. And it can be made into a graphene-like substance as well and be utilized on this level. And so this is – so I just went into a really long explanation of what graphene is because I think it's important people know what it is. And then to understand this is a potential use of it from hemp. And that hemp is not just this old school plant material, but it's also got the potential to be like a space age material. And so we can get into biocomposites of plastics and stuff like that, but the graphene idea is already saying like this is how we can replace things and make it stronger for cars as well, and this is all these things we can do with graphene. So maybe we just skip over and work it into that side of things. So this is literally, Rob, one of my favorite like potential uses of hemp. And again, it's because
it sounds like why not?
It sounds like why not, but I mean, look, it's always going to come down to the will of the people with money. Yes. Unfortunately, but that's the way it is. And also what's around that industry. And graphene, actually, the graphene industry is in a sense not that dissimilar to the hemp industry, where it's disjointed. It's not really clear the pathways of what graphene as an industry is going. And so, like, there are some entrepreneurs that think we're going to do this. And then they like realize, wow, that's not really cost effective. Or in a similar way, like to hemp industry, where people are putting CBD in everything. Okay. And it's not that CBD isn't amazing, but it's also this is what happens when you live in a marketing economy where everybody wants to like make some money off of a product, whether they know that much about it or not, or whether they do know a lot about it. But they go, well,
that is true.
How am I going to make money off of this? Well, this guy has hemp water. I'm going to make hemp coffee. I'm going to I'm going to throw CBD in it. Or here are some socks with CBD in it. And it's like, why?
Why? Yeah, we don't need CBD socks.
Yeah, I don't need THC socks. Why would I need CBD socks? It's not like, I mean, the idea of a sock that's going to send substances into my body already is like, how are you doing that if that's what you're doing? Or you're just putting it in and it doesn't have any meaning to it and it's just a stupid gimmick. So there's those levels of that idea on things. But again, this is one of my favorite uses. This is my Star Trek like use of hemp, right? It's my, here's the really super space age modern hemp usage that maybe nobody will ever find out that it's really doing, but it can really do it, and it could be in every electric car potentially. Not just.
You have piqued my interest.
I know. I'm glad to pique your interest. So
be studying this.
So check out graphene, everybody, and understand that yes, it's something that hemp can be made out of. It's not the only thing. Obviously, there's like.
But something.
It's theorized there's about 25,000 usages of hemp, and I always found that interesting. It's just like saying how many usages of there are there of plastic or of this and that. But it is true. I mean, it's the imagination and what you can do with whatever material you make out of hemp that can give you those many usages. So it's just my favorite. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about in hemp. My little hemp education for the day.
Hemp education, all right.
Hemp education.
I'm here for it.
But let's talk about some more fun stuff. I mean, it's higher conversations. There's obviously some crazy things going on in the world.
Really? I
Yeah,
had
I
no
know,
idea.
right? I know.
I had
And
no idea.
and this is one of those conversations we had too. Is like, I wish I would love to hear, and everybody's afraid of it because of the ignorance of just hearing like, our president elect or the vice president elect talk about cannabis on, talk about hemp, like
Oh, I'm
that.
sure that they will.
Mm,
It's just I'm sure that it's inevitable that will become a conversation point as part of their administration. But right now, nobody can talk about anything
it's
because
true.
of the big baby who's just
He is the big
sitting
baby.
there.
He is the big baby. Well, we'll see. It looks like it looks like it froze on our side, but it always kicks back in, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just Facebook being amazing. By the way, everybody, if you are on here and you're not liking how the Facebook side of things is rolling, you can visit us on hcmagazine.com at YouTube, and you should probably be able to watch us. Oh, there we go. We're back and going on. So that's another way, but we're trying to do the comments right now on Facebook just because it seems to work better. And Caroline Davis says,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey."
Oh,
So
hey,
Caroline Davis has been
hey,
checking
mom.
us out.
Yes, she has.
Um, and but so okay. What do you want to talk about first? Because we have a whole list of
Oh
fun
my
little
lord.
crazy conversations that are non-cannabis related. And while you tell me what you want to talk about, I am going to have another um,
Do it.
incognito, but right in front of you hit. Let's see how this works. Okay, wait. See, I got to hide the bowl though, real quick. See, you got to do this.
Do what you need to do. I would
Yay.
say that for me, the biggest issue of the moment is the notion that we're stuck in this moment of Republican senators, but Republicans in general, who are just letting this man behave like a total ass. There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like a waste of everyone's time.
Well, it's a waste of your time. And it really comes down to this one woman, I forget her name off the top of my head now, who is just not certifying the election. And she's trying to use the 2000
Oh
election
yes, I
as,
saw that.
it's like, come on now. Um, and here's the thing, like, if we're going to do it this way, is this how you want Democrats to do it now? Like, that's my
Oh
question
no,
is,
exactly.
do you want us to, until all of the states are fully certified, is that when we will let Republicans come in a
Right,
transition of
right.
power because we're going to follow your suit? I mean, and the thing about it is like it's like if you wanted to be that petty with a country, but that doesn't make sense. Um,
It's just all childishness on both sides. First of all, to watch um and I definitely identify as a more left leaning person. I don't know
yeah.
if I'm far left, but I'm definitely left leaning.
Hmm.
To hear journalists who are sort of left leaning decry what's happening right now and that this was a legitimate election and I don't know what he's complaining about, which is just the reverse of what was happening the other way around in 2016 when the
Hmm.
conservatives were all saying this was um, there was the Clinton campaign was doing shady things in the background. Like both sides just go back and forth accusing each other of being shady,
Right.
which is not
Right.
productive to the country at large in any way, shape, or form. But in
Correct.
this moment, for Republican senators, congresspeople, to not step up and say, we have a system, Joe Biden won that system,
Yeah.
let's move forward,
Yeah.
is it shows the degree of I don't even want to say sway that Donald Trump has over the Republican Party because I swear I feel that man gets too much credit for being smart and I think he's stupid. I think he's one of the stupidest people to ever walk the face of
Well,
the earth.
it's kind of like he's the village idiot, and everybody is catering around him. Like that's
Yes.
does that you know what I mean? Like it's like I picture him like he's the snotty like 6-year-old to 8-year-old boy in like some rich manor, and
Yes.
he's had everything given to him, and the
Yes.
entire family and the butlers and everybody is just like catering to everything about him. And I feel like they know they're smarter than him. They don't even like the brat, but they're
So I'm trying
still
I still have to figure out why then. What is it about because unless it's literally that they're all afraid that he's going to give them like a nickname or something like that, he has no. Do I think he has a degree more understanding of the political process than he did when he first went into office? Sure, Do I think he is not like a well studied, now educated about it? Absolutely not.
which is
So,
amazing because you'd think as president you would just know. Um,
hmm,
like
not him.
just to being in that position, you'd be like, oh, so that's how it works. Oh, okay. But he's not
You're right.
even listening to any of that.
No, he's not curious. He's not intellectually curious at all.
So I think it's a really good question, right? Like I see the media trying to like make excuses for why the Republicans are doing it, and the Republicans are making excuses. Like one of the ideas is, well, we don't want to hurt now it's the Atlanta runoff elections. I mean, not Atlanta, I'm sorry,
Georgia,
the
yeah.
Georgia runoff election. I always say Atlanta because my brother lives in Atlanta, but it's Georgia.
Yes.
It is Georgia. The Georgia runoff elections, and I think they think that they need Trump's people to win that
To
runoff
vote
election.
for the, yeah, to vote against Ossoff and Warnock.
and,
Yes, yes.
and I don't think they have to do it the way they're doing it, first of all, but also I think here's what I think it stems to one thing, really. It's that the Republicans have decided that you should never apologize for anything and never admit mistakes. Like, never admit you're wrong. That's it. Like, and if you look at every decision they've made, it kind of stems from they won't admit fault in anything.
Well, they've gone in so far on their Trump connection and standing up for him that it's a I want to say it's a tricky space, although it shouldn't be. It's a tricky space for them now because if you put up with him and if you remain quiet with all of the shit that he's done over the last 4 years, and suddenly now you have a moral compass, that's going to be a hard spin. Um, but I mean, they never had a moral compass once they backed him 4 years ago. So now to watch
grabbing
them just sort
pussy.
of,
I'm gonna always go back
oh
to
yeah,
grabbing pussy. I'm
I will go
sorry.
back to before that. I've said it again. I'll keep saying it over and over again. When the man at a rally, even though there are plenty of things that are disgusting, plenty of things, but at the rally
Oh
when
no,
you
you're
made
right.
fun
You're
of the
right.
guy with
We made
cerebral
fun of
palsy,
the guy with cerebral palsy. You're right.
that
That
was
was right.
the culture I thought we lived in. Agreed that that wasn't something that you would get back a person who did that, but
Yeah.
so here we
And
are now, and they're afraid. And we were talking before about Lindsey Graham, right? As a prime example, like who will do whatever is necessary for this man, who will lie, cheat, and steal, and accuse other people of lying, cheating, and stealing. And
what is it? What is it?
what they have on him,
What do they have on him, Rob? What do they
a
have
sex
on this?
tape.
It's
I'm
got to be.
convinced there's something.
Is he the guy?
Lindsey
Is he
Graham,
the one
in my
peeing on
opinion,
Trump? Maybe.
oh no, you didn't just say that. I
I
can't
totally did.
even.
So, but what
I
is it? I
can't
mean,
even.
what do they have in this guy? Because the 180 for this guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't admit he was wrong. He still didn't admit he was wrong. But like the
No.
180 from this guy was, this man will destroy the Republican Party. That is a Lindsey Graham quote from, I don't know if it's 2015 or 2016, but it
Mm-hmm.
was during the election.
Mm-hmm.
This man would destroy the Republican Party. To now he is, as the South Carolina senator for
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina, has now called Georgia
Yes. To
it,
question them,
and
to
asked
see
them
what they're doing. Like it's
and
none of
asked them
his
if they could throw out
business.
some vote, if it was possible to throw out some of these mail-in votes, or to throw out a large amount of them from the. And then he also called Arizona about something going on in Arizona, and what I think. What I love is he's like, I didn't say that. And then there's another, and here comes another Republican on top of the Republican Secretary of State who came out with this. And he's like, I was there. He said it. He totally said that.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. And so I think that, first of all, he needs to lose his chairmanship, in my opinion. Like,
The fact that he didn't lose his, that was actually more upsetting to me. Election
that he
night,
didn't lose his election.
I that of all the people, including Trump, the person who I wanted to lose their seat most was Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, but
Mitch McConnell too, but Lindsey Graham is really just is a disgusting excuse for a human being. He has no moral center whatsoever.
neither does Mitch McConnell, though. I mean, and it,
True, although Mitch McConnell, even though I can't stand the man, he attempts to not reference Trump specifically, but talk about the office of
Oh,
the president and so
oh,
forth and so on.
I agree with that. He's not a Trump bootlicker. You
Right.
know, like I think McConnell is like, look, I have way more power than you do, Trump, honestly. And if I want, and all he cares about is power, and he's like, I just want to hold on
Oh
to it.
yeah,
So
that's all he cares
he's
about.
very, I mean, like he was silent for the most part. He's still been silent for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, and this is where the left media is stupid. We talked about this. So they're talking about the Kamala Harris fist bump. Like that, like
Yes.
Lindsey Graham
Yes.
fist bumped to Kamala Harris, and I was like, he did, and they were like, he was congratulating her, and then if you watch the video, it's one of those where she's talking to two people, she turns, she sees Lindsey,
Mm-hmm.
she puts the fist out.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, everybody, Kamala put the fist out, all
Yes, she
right,
did.
and Lindsey walking by was like, here you go, he gave her the fist bump, and then he walked around the corner, and they're all wearing masks, you can't really see their expression, but like
Right.
that like when they were like they're congratulating Kamala, I was like, no, that's not what they're doing. And
The
why?
reality is they were just in a whole. There's a whole other world that Senate chamber. There's
Yeah.
a whole other
Oh,
world where
yeah.
there are cameras. It's interesting. I saw. I don't know if it was recent or not, but I was watching it on this past
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. Um, Sonia Sotomayor was
Mm-hmm.
on uh, the Daily Show
Mm-hmm.
with Trevor Noah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really great. Like if you get to watch that episode, just watch it. Like she's fantastic to listen to. Um, and she was talking about because Trevor Noah said to her, in this age of this digital age, do you think the Supreme Court hearings and such should be broadcast
Mm-hmm.
versus just the audio aspect?
Mm.
And she said no because it
Mm.
would change it too much, and the temptation to play to the camera is too strong.
Mm.
And I wonder what more might get accomplished if Congress, the Senate in particular, was not broadcast,
That's
right?
interesting. What would get accomplished, right? That's a great,
Because people are playing to the constituents and what the camera's doing, and it's ridiculous.
well, but here's the other thing. It needs to be broadcast, right? I mean, that's part of the thing, right? Is so I get like that's interesting. I never thought of that, Rob. Though, like so by broadcasting it, you think it might be a bad thing, but if they didn't broadcast it, we'd always be going, "What's going on behind closed doors?" Like I like that
No, but we could have
transparency.
audio, just like the Supreme Court's arguments.
But well,
You
then
can hear them, but you don't see them, and they're not playing to a camera.
yeah, but then they're just playing to an audio. They know they're being recorded. I mean, is that going to
But they know
really
they're being
change?
recorded, but it becomes less about. Um, I mean, I've been in rooms where, well, that's not true. Most of my audio recording, the mic is very clearly in front of me. But if you're not, I think you can forget that you're being audio recorded. You can't forget that a camera's on you.
That's interesting. I don't disagree with that statement. Actually, people can forget that there's a camera on them. By the way, I do believe that. But when you're in that situation, I
Mm-hmm.
understand what you're saying. And if you're on the Senate floor, you can forget. You're not going to forget about those cameras. You're very cognizant of those cameras.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
got to be a way around it because to me, I believe that you have to document everything, and I believe it should be videoed, right? So there is that. Maybe there's a delay. Like they go, okay, you can have the audio immediately or live, but the video gets released like through Freedom of Information or automatically a year from now, it's free for anybody to see. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be some like complete transparency, you know. And even then, there
Okay.
could be
Okay.
and even then, I think there could be like a request, like, hey, can we get a clip? I don't know. But it's an interesting point that she's making, and you're making, you know, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
is that is true. There is this issue with the camera, and what they're doing to play to it. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because when I watched even some of the hearings over the course of the last year, some of it is like, especially Lindsey Graham, it's a perfect example when he
Mm-hmm.
goes in his attack dog mode.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first of all, again, going back to whatever they have on him, I'm
Mm-hmm.
convinced that there's either a sex tape or
It's something,
something very
man.
compromising. I'm
It's
100%, I
something.
have zero doubt he's a gay man. I
I'm
don't
with
believe
you on that. Thank
outing,
you.
but
It's
he
just that,
deserved it.
dude. Yeah, I mean, even as a straight man, I have a better than average straight man's attunement. I would say, you know, through
I
my
would
life,
say,
right, my
I
life
would say,
experience.
yes.
And so I would say
But
that,
but he
yeah, I
plays to the camera big time. He lives
big
for it,
time. Like
and he's
here's
playing to Trump often
and you know
too.
what's hilarious, and I know that it's like if Kevin Spacey wasn't the pedophile that he was, he'd be playing Lindsey Graham in
Oh,
something. All right, is he not the best person to play that role? Come on,
he would be a good
he's
Lindsey Graham. You are correct. I never thought about that.
seriously.
He
You
would
know,
be.
he can do a play from jail where he does that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, is he in jail? No, he's not in
I
jail, is he?
don't know if
I
he's
don't
in
think so.
jail, but can
I
we
don't think
like,
he
hey,
is.
but speaking of Ken Spacey, wasn't it common knowledge in the acting community already that he was
That he
gay?
was gay.
Like,
It
and that
was
he actually liked
really-
younger boys. I remember being
I
told
don't
that.
know about that part,
See,
but
I
I do
remember.
know that it was unspoken secret that he was, you
Okay.
know,
I remember being told that in New York by another actor, but he didn't say young boys like teenagers, though. He just said like in your 20s. Like, I remember I went for an audition or something, and it was a Kevin Spacey movie. He's like, oh, watch out for Kevin Spacey. He likes boys like you. And I'm like, I was like 22, and I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, he likes the younger boys. And I was like, I'm thinking, okay, in the 20s. Like, I never,
right, right,
it
right.
actually didn't occur to me that he was going
No,
younger than
younger than
that.
that had never occurred to me either.
Never occurred to me.
I
Never
don't
occurred to me.
understand that actually, but
I don't either.
I hope he gets help for
He
whatever's
ain't,
going
he's
on with
going to
him.
jail. He's going to
Destroyed
jail.
his whole career.
He's just destroyed his whole career. It's just, but
Wait, can I
yeah, go.
switch to a discussion around it's been in the news in the last couple of days, and it's
Okay.
around the holidays
Oh yes, I know
and
what we're
people
going to talk about. I like
gathering
that.
for the
Yeah, yeah,
holidays.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I am 100% against this notion that we as a country are telling people what they can and cannot do in their own homes for the holidays.
Yeah.
If people do not want to gather with their families or friends, by all means, do not gather with your family and friends.
Yeah.
But the
Exactly.
notion that people feel they have the right to tell other people how they can or cannot engage with their loved ones over the holidays is disgusting to me.
Well, okay, so I think this is an interesting conversation because all right, it depends on how you're saying it. Like, you can
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, for the safety of your family, if you have been socially distancing from them, you might want to continue that. But it's your choice because this is a free fucking country. And if you
Yes, it
are going to
is.
meet with them, we recommend groups of, and I've heard this, they were like, we recommend groups of 6 or less. And it's like, well, if you're going to do that, I mean, that sucks if you have a huge family, but maybe you do that and say, hey guys, we're going to do this and we'll have a big Zoom thing where we all meet. And you know, maybe there's some creative ideas that can be put out there. And maybe you can say, here's
Mm-hmm.
some other options. But if they're
Mm-hmm.
coming at it like you're saying it, if they're coming at it like, don't spend time with your family and don't do this and don't.
And that we might fine you or send the police to your
Who's
door.
talking about
What?
fining? Who's talking about
In New
fining?
York. In New York.
Are they really? Is this a mayor thing or is this a
This is a
state?
Cuomo thing.
This is a Cuomo thing. Oh, don't
And
go
the
that
thing that gets
far.
me is
That's going far,
I am
man.
sorry. This, even with all of its issues, this is the United States.
It is. It is.
We do not just send law enforcement in with no actual law
Yeah.
that's being broken. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
no warrants, none of that. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about?
Yeah.
What kind of country
Yeah.
would we be allowing ourselves to turn into if that happened?
Look, I mean, if and that's the thing is there's no law about this. There's no law. So all it can be, like I said, is it can be a suggestion. It can be
Mm-hmm.
here's
I'm
some
fine with the
and
suggestion.
yeah, make this like look, we recommend, and that's what I've heard. That's how I've heard Fauci say it because that man knows how to balance on the like just a razor like knife
Yeah,
thing.
he's been around.
I can't believe he still has a job, honestly, because if you're competent at your job, you usually get fired.
You
In the
usually
Trump
get fired by that guy. Yeah.
So it, I think it's kind of he's done it in a really good way, and he's just like, and he's like, I feel bad, but I feel like he's like this little guy who's like, please, America, just fucking wear a mask. God damn, my job sucks because you guys aren't doing your job. Just wear a mask, please.
But you know what? This is what I have to say about the mask thing. There was no uh again, because Trump's an idiot. There was no plan and no
Yeah.
talking the country through
Hmm.
the process,
Correct.
right?
Right. Yeah.
It was just suddenly people are supposed to listen to the government when they tell them whether people want to accept that it's in this category or not, but listen to the government when they tell you how you have to dress. We
Yeah.
don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Caroline Davis just sent this in too, by the way. My computer, I had to
Yes.
refresh it because I didn't realize it
We are
froze.
not in communist
We
China.
are
She's
not in
correct.
communist China. I agree. Yeah, it should be the family's choice. The suicide
Yes.
rates increases around the holidays as it is. See, that's not a wonderful point. It's a very good point. It's like, nobody's like
It's
wonderful,
true.
but it is
And you
true.
have people who have been probably some people who have been distancing for months who really haven't gone anywhere. And the holidays were probably the thing they were looking forward to the most. They would finally get to
Mm-hmm.
see people and be
Mm-hmm.
around their family. And now we're
Yeah.
telling people, no, you have to stay home. Like, if people want to stay home, fine. If you don't want to visit family, fine.
Yeah.
But if other people, I will be visiting with family.
I
So
get it.
if anyone has a problem with that, that's too bad.
Yeah.
If
No, I
you
don't.
don't want to do that, don't do that.
Yeah. You
But
know.
I noticed they're turning into a country where we're suddenly like sending the police to people's houses because, and like I said, if someone was having if there were like 100 people partying at a house,
Mm-hmm.
I still don't believe it is something that the police, because we don't have laws around it, that the police can come in and arrest you, but that they can come in and ask you to break it up however they figure that out. That's one thing. But if there's like 10 people in a house, even if
Mm-hmm.
there's 20 people
Mm-hmm.
and the house is big enough or what have
Mm-hmm.
you, I'm sorry, this long term emotional, mental health damage being done to people by making them stay so separate.
Well, and again, like I have to acknowledge that I've had a fairly um mild I mean a big adjustment, but like everybody has through this whole thing all this year, but like compared to somebody living in New York like you,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
like I have a backyard, I have a house, I
Exactly.
have a neighborhood street where we all know each other and our kids all know each other, so we basically created a pod over the summer for our kids so they all were able to have a normal childhood summer. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I always have to try to take myself out of I mean, it sucked for We Lost the Magazine. I mean, there's shit that happened that sucks, but for like,
Right, right.
but as far as like my mental capacity, like what like emotionally we have to deal with, there's stuff, but like it's nothing compared to me to somebody who is living in a high rise in New York, or
Yes.
and or
Trapped inside.
trapped inside, and so or somebody who has a lot of family and a large family like we have. I mean, we have a small family that lives here, so we were able to like maintain that.
Right,
But if
right.
I had a huge family and and then their jobs, the factors keep growing exponentially when you
Mm-hmm.
have that. But it is up to the family, it is their choice. And so
Yes.
and there's the flip side. I mean, like, the black comedy side of me goes, well, I know suicide rate goes up during the holidays, but is it because of the families? And maybe they don't need their families. It's like
True for some people that yes, I see that dark side there. Yes.
correlation's not
Mm-hmm.
always causation. I get it, but I just think it's kind of a funny thing. That's like you're like, well, during the holidays it goes up, and what else? Oh, I'm around my family during the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
but
it's also dark during the winter and people get lonely. Like
but that's
we
why this is going
cannot
to spread.
make people stay inside.
No, you're right. And that's exactly why every expert in infectious disease was accurately predicting that it was going to be worse in the fall.
Mm.
Because they all said it. They were like, it's going to be worse in the fall. Everybody's going to be inside. The air is not going to circulate as well. People are going to, but also we're already at like the quarantine fatigue now. I mean, it's
Oh,
like,
totally.
and I think the thing is, if we were able to go, okay, guys, here's the deal. If we knew what we knew now,
Mm-hmm.
right, I think everybody could have been a lot chiller in the summer.
Oh,
And
totally.
you know what I mean? We could have been like, hey, here's the thing, guys. And this is again, alternate reality. Um, a Hillary Clinton presidency
Mm-hmm.
would have
None of
potentially.
this would be happening.
Well,
Not in this way.
we probably would have shut down hardcore,
Oh, we would have shut down. I'm not saying we would have shut down, but there
and
would have been a plan.
but there would have been a plan. Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. So you go and if with the hindsight for 2020,
Hmm.
um,
Yes. For 2020, I love it.
exactly. So with the hindsight for what 2020 is, we could have gone, okay, here's the deal, everybody. Summer's fine. Go to the fucking beach. Do that kind of stuff. Be outside. I mean,
Hmm.
you could probably even get away with like Disney World at less capacity, which they did do actually. They did actually do.
Yeah,
But
they would have to reduce capacity.
reduce
Absolutely.
capacity absolutely has to happen. Outdoor dining, absolutely. And tell everybody, here's the deal though. We can do, I mean, if you knew this now, you could say, we're going to do this for the summer. You got to wear the masks. You still got to wear the mask, people. That's
Hmm.
absolutely a given.
Hmm.
I think it is. Outdoors and in public, like when you're surrounded by a lot of people, like in your family setting, in your home, make your own fucking choices. But when we're all doing it,
Well, I don't know about outdoors. That's where I
well,
struggle.
what I mean is like if you're doing the spatial distancing side of things, and
Right. Because that's the argument, right? That you need to have on a mask and be 6 feet away. So first of all, if you're 6 feet away, then why do you need the mask if you're 6 feet away?
correct.
But I'm not anti-mask. Like I wear masks
I know,
all the places
I
I'm
know.
supposed
We
to,
all
and
have
so
to.
forth and so
Yeah.
on. But also, if people are walking around by themselves outside, there's no one else around. I don't think they need a mask on.
Yeah. No,
Why?
I see when I see somebody like and maybe it's just it's also potentially a choice. Like like when I see somebody when I go out to take my dog for a walk, I'm not wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough room to avoid people. And by the way, my dog already makes me avoid people because he's psycho, and he's psycho on leash. He's like and so he's one of those dogs that is like a dumbass on leash to other dogs, and and
Hmm.
so I'm already like 15 feet away from you. So no, I'm not wearing a mask, but I've gotten glares about it. And I sometimes might have a gator thing on so I can just pull one up
Hmm.
if somebody's coming by and I'm going to talk to them, fine. But when I do see people walking completely by themselves with a mask on, I'm not looking at them like you're a dumbass, but I'm also like,
I
you
don't
don't.
get it.
I'm just kind of like, you don't need that, right?
You
Some
don't
people
need it. You're by yourself.
maybe they like the mask. I don't know. I mean, my daughter likes wearing her mask. She likes to because
Oh
she's
wow.
got she's got the cool Batman mask or like the
Oh, okay,
Spider
okay.
Man. So now it's an accessory for her, and she's into
Yeah, I just have
superhero.
the blue surgical one. I refuse to get fashionable with it.
Hmm.
I
Well,
refuse.
it makes it easier for the kid to wear it than a surgical, but
Oh yeah, for the kids, I totally get it for the little
and
kids.
for
Yeah,
her, she's
absolutely.
like it's like a mask, like Batman wears a mask or whatever,
Right,
So
right.
it's become a kind of a thing for her, and that's cool, whatever. Because I'm the one who's always like, you don't have to wear that mask, honey. It's like it's okay, Dad. I like it. Fine, there
Oh
you
my
go.
lord.
I mean, she could be running around with a cape. She's running around with a mask, whatever, and I don't care either way. Um,
Yes,
but
yes.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a common sense thing. If we just said, "Here's the deal, people," but and again, it is this hindsight thing. We didn't know like the perfect choice. We didn't know enough about. I mean, remember when they were telling people to wash their groceries? To
Oh
like
yeah,
sanitize their
everything.
groceries. And I knew, and like there was one time, and there was just a time that I was like, "Ah, you know what, Jackie, I don't think so." I was just like, I think that's taking it a whole other
Yeah.
level.
Look, if people want to wash their groceries, by all means, please
Wash your
wash your
groceries.
groceries. That's
Wash your
not what I'm
groceries.
doing,
You got
but
time
if
because you're
that's
stuck
what
at
makes you
home.
happy,
You're stuck at
what'd you
home.
say?
You get time. You're stuck at
You've
home.
got time. You're home. Yeah,
That's how you
I'll
want to
bring
fill
mine
your
over to
day.
you if you want
Is
to if
that
you want to wash them
yeah,
for me.
yeah. If
But
that's how
here's, and I want to say this,
Mhm.
uh, so sort of tie it all together
Mhm.
with Trump.
Yes.
I cannot stand the man. He is repugnant,
Hmm.
and he's too stupid to comprehend. Even though it would not have made me like him,
Right.
but if he had created a plan, he'd be reelected right now.
Easily. Easily.
Like the fact that he
Easily.
never understood that, and that there was no one in his world who could get him to understand that,
But
that's crazy.
he's a carnival barker, right? I mean,
Exactly.
he's just like that's all he knows how to do. And
Yeah.
so he just kept doing more of that harder, right? Like that's the thing what I right? I mean, it's like I only know how to do this one thing. It's my only solution
Right.
for everything, and it's been super
Yes.
successful. So, something's not working. Let me just do this as hard as I can.
Yeah.
It's like it's still not going to work.
It's like he thinks of himself. I'm going to use a singing example, but he thinks of himself as a stand-up comic, right? I feel like he thinks of himself as a stand-up comic. But I'll use a singing example. If he were a singer, he'd be a singer who what makes great singers amazing is that you may not hear the album version of the song when you see them live. They may do something different. They might do a different inflection. They're going to have fun with it. Maybe they'll do the album version, but usually not. He just does the album version, just over and over and over again.
Yes.
With no concept of how to ever change it up.
Yes.
And
I've been to concerts
like
that.
Get some interest.
I've been to concerts like that where they don't mix it up. They just play. I mean, and that's why people get pissed when people lip sync, right? It's like, because I know you didn't do that shit for real.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that's what he is. You're right. He only knows that. It's interesting. Like, I just don't understand why those are the greatest hits. Like I think it's hilarious that like somebody's like, and I'm sorry, I can't do the Trump thing without doing like I can't be a Trump supporter without an ignorant Southern Trump voice, and I feel bad for everybody.
Without a Southern voice, you say?
I'm bad. I feel bad for, and you know what? It's
not the South. It's everybody.
I know, because there's so many.
It keeps being put on the South as a descendant of Southern people.
Well, the problem is when I look at the map of the United States, and there's a lot of red, and most of that red is the bottom. It's the bottom.
That red is also in the Midwest and the.
Oh no, Maine went red. I mean, Maine's a. But we always laughed about it, like as New Englanders. You're like, and I love Maine. Maine is a beautiful country, and the people are awesome.
It is beautiful.
The people are awesome, and they're
and
but like Maine is very it's kind of like the redneck of the North. Like it's just, I don't know what it is about it, and it's because it's rural. It's very rural. All right, and obviously, that doesn't mean you're not an intelligent human being at all. By the way,
no, I know some lovely.
It doesn't matter about that. Yeah. Some of my best friends are from the South.
Exactly.
But so anyway, that's not my point. Is somebody's sitting there at home. And I don't understand how they're just like, I cannot wait to go see the president. I cannot wait. What's he going to talk about? Oh, I know what he's going to talk about is all the greatest hits. I'm doing this without the accent. It's hard. I have to focus, Rob. I really have to focus to just be me. But they're like, he's going to talk about what they're going to hear. I just want to chant "Lock her up." Can I just go and chant "Lock her up"? I can't. I want to be a part of "Lock her up." It's almost like
they go to boo at Nancy Pelosi's
It's
name.
like the worst Rocky Horror Picture Show ever.
Yes,
right.
That's a good way of. I like that.
It's this weird thing because it's not religious. It's not like he's doing a revival. He doesn't have.
But there is a cult like religiosity in a Jim Jones kind of way, even though Jim Jones was actually a minister. But
but he doesn't have that charisma. Like he has a charisma, I guess, but I don't get it.
Charisma.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
It's a charisma that doesn't work on us.
He doesn't have the preacher charisma, though. You know what I'm talking about? Like that preacher charisma when they're speaking, they're just like,
True, because he doesn't know. He's not studied. He's not intellectually curious. He never. Many people who I think are relatively successful, orators, speakers, preachers, there's another group that I'm thinking of, but they study themselves to a degree.
Yes.
Right? They listen to what they've said before. They try to make it a little better the next time. So he's not curious in that way.
Well, they also have to create.
Yeah, like you said, he just does the same thing over and over.
Well, they have to create a different sermon every week. Or however many times, whatever
he's the same sermon.
It's the same sermon. It's the same sermon. Yeah. So it's like, I just want to go see. Yeah. So that's why Rocky Horror Picture Show isn't bad, right? Because it is the same thing, and it's just like now it's this audience participation thing.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Wow.
But I just don't understand why anybody would want to do this. And now it is getting to the level of the Trump University, right? Did you see what he's now doing to them with the emails?
No.
Oh, so he's doing this is so fucked up,
What
people.
is he doing?
So he's sending emails out to anybody who's ever donated to him. Like, you get
Oh, right,
those when
right.
you.
But the money's going back to him or
Well, what
something.
he's saying is help us in our fight to make sure that we, find the fraud and find this and find that, or help us in our legal battles to make this a fair election and keep it from being stolen from me. And in the fine print, it says the funds. So unless you give them more than $4,000,
Right.
none of that money is going to go to the legal defense fund for him or the legal prosecution fund or
It'll
whatever you
just
want
go
to
to
call it.
him for
No,
his
it'll
election
go
campaign or
towards
something.
paying off the debt of the campaign. Is essentially what they're saying. And it really could be kind of used for anything. So in other words, these people who have no money are going to give 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, whatever, however much dollars they can give to this this campaign fund. The money they're giving them, if they don't read the fine print, they're thinking, I'm helping his legal defense. I'm helping his legal fund to like change this. And instead, it's actually going to go towards anything they really want it to be, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm somebody who's giving, I'll give you $4,001, $1 is going to that legal fund. Okay. And I mean, that's so he's scamming them. And like, you understand, this is a family that was banned from ever holding a charity, right? They're not allowed to have a charity in whatever. I don't know if it's federal or what state it was, Florida or whatever. Probably Florida.
Because they scam people.
Because they scam people. So they're literally banned from having a charity. It's crazy, dude.
On that note,
Yes, I know we have to go. Next week we should talk about this Trump media empire that everybody's talking about that he's going to create. You say he's not even going to create it, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think he even knows yet what he wants to try to do to try to beat any criminal charges. He's literally just throwing stuff against the wall right now.
Well, I think he's going to create it. I think he's going to create it and it's going to fail, but because that's consistent.
Yes,
but I think it's. But we can get into that later. We do have to go because we try to keep it right an hour and whatever technical things. I hope we. Thank you for everybody for watching.
Thank you. Great conversation, Dave.
That was a good conversation today, man. We'll have to have more.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'll have another hemp usage conversation. We're gonna have that, but we'll also get into politics because
tell them to look up. How do you spell it? Graphene.
Graphene. So GRAPHENE. We did a great article on it in our spring 2017 issue, which was our hemp fashion issue. We've talked about it in the past too, but that's definitely one that I remember comes to mind as one that kind of gets into that the hemp side of what and what it can do for graphene. But there's plenty of usages of hemp that we can talk about, and we will. And
yes,
because it's like the
that's
education, the hemp education for Mr. Robert Davis. So,
yes.
Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thanks for your comments, Carolyn. Always love having you on.
Always
and lock him up. We were gonna talk about that. We didn't even talk about that, Rob. Oh my God. But that's like, it's not like we can't have that conversation next week too. All right. Because so Carolyn, we were going to have that conversation. And the idea is, because Biden just came out saying he's not really down for locking him up, or he's not down for keep pursuing it. Here's the thing. The Southern District of New York is still going to do their thing, right? They don't care. So I'm just going to say, like,
James is ready.
Yeah, let Southern District of New York do it. Let the states do wherever they have. It's not like this guy hasn't been litigated up the butt anyway. But yeah, I think Biden should just stay in clear of it and keep focusing on it. And then he should get a good bulldog attorney general that will sick some dogs on everything and let it go. And Biden can just be like, hey, man, I am separate from mine and really actually be separate. And so, yeah. Oh, I'm going to miss Attorney General Barr.
Oh, don't even say that. I need him gone sooner than the rest of them.
Who would have thought somebody could have been worse than Jeff Sessions?
They were out there.
They were. Oh, dude, we could keep going. Okay, we gotta go. All right, bro. Love you. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. And until next time, peace, love, and happiness.